So we're going to do another AlekhineSaemisch attack here, and this will be our second example of it. And it's something that I play frequently. Alekhine's an interesting defense, and I like it. I've played it myself as black, but black players have studied all the lines in it very carefully, and they have pet ways to take you into formations where they either fianchet their king bishop or they don't. You know, they play a different kind of Sicilian type pawn formation. So we take them out of both and get them into a real traditional type center game with lots of open lines. And basically, we're looking for a particular kind of formation, and we can pretty much force that formation unless they're very clever. So the first principle is that we want to accept doubled pawns for open lines. And I'll show you an example of this in this game. What we have here is a game that I played against an FM. And this FM played the following moves. I pushed here, and now knight to c3. And now, of course, the rage seems to be to play e6, but he played the traditional knight takes c3, and I capture back this way. Now, if you look at this formation, what we've just done is now we have a wonderful open file for a queen. We have two wonderful open bishop diagonals, and we don't have to worry about developing a queen's knight. The pawn on c3 would have occupied the square anyway. The white's got all these open lines. Black has literally nothing. You know, we have an advanced e-pawn, and it's though black has not even started the game and is minus a knight. So I like this position for white a lot. And even though the engine says that I'm barely any advantage at all, in practical sense, I'm very comfortable playing it. So we'll go back to our second point is, where do we develop our bishop? Well, I like developing it to d3. c4 is a traditional place, but it's easily attacked there now. So if you develop it to d3, you can allow black to set up a French formation where he moves like e6, d5, and even c5 in some cases. Then you have to be a little more careful to be prepared to push your doubled c-pawn to c4 to stop him from setting up too robust a pawn chain there and chasing your bishop into an inferior square. So we set up like that, plan to castle queenside, and involve our king's rook as soon as possible. So now let's finish up this game. I didn't play the most accurate game in the history of the world here, however I won. So let's look at the rest of it. That's an interesting move. I'd never seen that before. c5. I don't think much of it. It's like somebody's begging to play the Sicilian here. Now it's at d5. So this person had planned to play some sort of dragon-like formation anyway. There are some players that just are in love with that sort of thing. Now we have a double attack d-pawn, and it suggested that I play queen d2 protecting it, and I do like queen d2. But since he fianchettoed, I'm now planning on taking that bishop apart on g7. So he castles, I castle. Now we have what I would describe as traditionally just a wonderful situation. I will play this line for white all day long and win most of them. That looks a little slow to me. Let's see what the engine recommended. It said d6, trying to challenge the center. That's hard to argue with, but he's still down. So he's trying to mount some sort of pawn storm here on the queen side, and that's going to happen rather slowly. So interestingly, the computer wanted me to move h4 right away, which is kind of like what I suggested before about getting your king's rook involved as soon as possible. If you move h4, looks like the computer recommends that black move h5 to block it, and then perhaps we start invading. So I move there. Now, once again, I'm going to go against some of my former advice, moving c4 early to prevent that sort of push of that pawn, but I have the e4 square for my bishop in this case. So I'm also, if you look at this carefully, sacrificing a pawn. So by moving bishop to h6 in this case and following it up with h4, I'm allowing him to take my e-pawn, which the computer doesn't consider to be the strongest line. However, black is playing the #1 response. So he's now got two bishops and a rook, and I have two rooks and a bishop. And he's got all his pawns, and I'm missing a pawn, plus I have a double pawn. So there is a kind of a dynamic quality to this position that's good for black. However, nothing's stopping me from pushing h5 very soon. So it recommended the king take that, and he played the queen takes it. I moved to f4, which the computer didn't like. He wanted me to keep my diagonals open and push h5 probably. Let's see. Yeah, h5. Everything's more obvious in retrospect. So now the bishop retreats. Now I play bishop to e4, which the computer really didn't like. Gives him additional opportunities, but let's face it, eventually I probably have to do that anyway, so. Okay, he's suggesting king to b1. Get my king off the diagonal, which I don't do. So it is kind of interesting here that he's building up a real interesting kind of long diagonal defense. He's going to push b4. He's going to have all this power on my b2 square. And so the computer wanted me to push h6, which to me just locked up the position and gave him all that possibility, and I didn't like it. So queen to e3 is what it suggests. I doubled, and now black gets the advantage. That's why I said I wasn't playing the most accurate game. As soon as he plays b4, I have a big problem, and he does. So the question is now, what do I do? Where do I go? How is he going to get away with pawn storming me? He still has an advantage. He plays b takes c3. And interestingly, the computer wants me to play b takes c3 and just run. So I check. The computer doesn't like that, so I'm giving up 2 rooks for the queen. Now I take. And if you analyze the situation, black probably has a bit of an advantage, because what black has is he's got a pawn majority, and he's got the 2 bishops, and I have a queen, and his pawns are all very soundly put together, and my pawns aren't very strong. So it says I should move bishop to f3, which I don't. I'm going into kind of a consolidation mode here. In fact, I played the segment of this game rather poorly. I probably shouldn't have let him have this a pawn at all. I probably should have moved a3. Yep. And it says, well, it doesn't recommend he take it. He says he should move rook to b2. He takes it. Now I'm going to have a bit of a problem. I would like to trade off one of these bishops, and I'm beginning to lose this game. So he takes, I take with check. He takes back, I take. And now you look, he's got 2 pawns that he's going to try to spring free on the king side. And if he can cover his other pawns effectively and set up some sort of barrier, I have almost no hope of winning this game. Queen to c6, so I got that right. Actually, he lost this game with a rather ugly blunder. We'll see what happens here. He's still up, you know, which he should be. He's got material equality, and he's got a strong fortress going, and if he ever gets a passed pawn, I'm the one with the problem. I don't have the passed pawn, so wants him to trade things off. F takes g5, rook takes, and here's where I really start to scramble. This is a point at which I start attacking with my king, which is a bit dangerous to do. And as you see, there's equality, but you know, Emanuel Lasker said in his book that a king's worth 4.5 attacking. So you know, I can't leave him behind. I want to even him up. I want to move him into some sort of parity with that rook. So my queen's in an unfortunate position where it's almost just a silly blockader. And now it says, interestingly, I can move queen to e5 check and stalemate myself. That's something I would never consider. Okay. And now we're seeing the possibility of him blundering. As you see, that was a grotesque blunder. So he just moved back to f6 in a big hurry when he could have easily just moved his king. And of course I attack the pin piece with my very active king and the game's over. However, this being a 5-minute game, I'll blitz out the rest of it for you because I really hate players who do this, and this just shows really strong players will do this. Even just with really weak players as well. Now he finally resigns. And there was no reason for him to do that except to try to run me out of time. So that's the end of this game, and we just played another Saemisch attack, and it worked out pretty well for us. So see you next time.